Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you, and welcome to Second Samuel chapter 10. Let me just pause for a moment. There are 19 verses in this chapter, beginning with verse 2. It says here, David sent to comfort him. So he sent comforters to Anon, the son of Nahash. What are comforters? Well, just using this verse alone, one would think these are women. No, these are actual men, because verse 4 confirms they have beards. So they are men that were sent to comfort him. Verse 3, examine versus overthrow. Verse 4, talking about how they cut their garments, cut them off as far as their haunches, which is their thigh or buttocks. So they were exposed from the waist below. And their beards were shaved, half of their beards were shaved off. Does it mean divided in the middle? Or does it mean the bottom half or the top half? In any case, it was disfigured, which is against the Torah. You should not disfigure your beard. Next is verse 5, talking about how they were dishonored. They were greatly dishonored. This is a fact. In the Masoretic, they were greatly ashamed. So this is a feeling. It's not a fact. It's just how they were feeling. So it's from an individual perspective, first person versus third person, and perhaps first person by extension, because this is how they were perceived. They were dishonored before not only their families, but the community at large and even the nations around them. Verse 6, we have a significant difference here. It says the people of David were ashamed. That's a fact. So the children of Ammon saw this, and they decided to take action as a result. Why is it a significant difference? Because in the Masoretic it says here, the children of Ammon saw that they stank before David. So it was them, the children of Ammon, who stunk before David. And David had a low opinion of them, perhaps. But that's not what happened. They have this warped mentality that, as a consequence of David sending comforters, they decided to not reward them good for good, but evil for good. So they continued on this same trajectory, saying, okay, well, David is now ashamed, so we're going to continue to kick him while he's down, him and his people, and the men, specifically the men that were sent to comfort Hanun. Big difference in the same verse. Talks about the king of NOT Maacah, whatever that is. Let's look it up, by the way. But actually reveals it's a greater nation than Maacah. It's a more renowned or infamous one. It says here, Achish, oppression. So there's no connection here. What is Maacah? Just a general, like a vague people. Maacah, only mentioned in a few places. Whereas in the Septuagint, on the other hand, talks about the king of Amalek. Amalek. And you know what? Let's look that up. So I wanted to bring this up, that this is Amalek, not Maacah. Amalek was the son of the concubine Timnah of Eliphaz, the eldest son of Esau, or Edom, one of the chiefs of Edom. And the Amalekites are mentioned all over the scriptures, especially in the book of Exodus, and in Numbers, and in Deuteronomy, and in Judges. They're all over the place. We have Agag, king of Amalek, Moses and Amalek. This is one of the biggest rivals of the people of Israel throughout their histories, Amalek. Whenever there's an Amalekite, even a descendant of Amalek, they are very uh, antagonistic towards Israel. It's just their nature. It's like dogs and cats. They just don't mix oil and water, however you want to put it. Okay, so that's a big difference in my opinion. That this name Amalek and this nation Amalek has been shrouded until now. I've just revealed it, and it's been revealed for thousands of years in the Septuagint. Again, this predates Yeshua walking on the earth as the son of Mary and Joseph about 250 years. So you add that to our current year, 2024, that's over 2,275 years, give or take, but over 2,200 years, 22 centuries, this has been shrouded because people are not taking the time to look into these things, specifically the differences between the Septuagint, the oldest complete Tanakh, and the Masoretic text. But only when you do that do you find differences such as this, Maacah or Amalek. So that is very significant, especially if you are Jewish or of Israelite descent. Okay, and this is a continuous difference throughout the narrative, and in verse 8, it only continues that. The children of Ammon, okay, it says here, those of Syria came from these places, Amalek versus Maacah again. And the Masoretic has it, makes more sense because it says the Syrians of these places, where it doesn't really say of Syria. I suppose you would have to insert those of Syria that came from these specific geographical places. Verse 9 talks about choice men. In the Masoretic, in the Septuagint, these are young men. So these are not just chosen of the choice men, the chosen of the chosen. These are the chosen of the young men. So these are battle ready. They are young, vibrant, energetic young men of Israel who are prepared to fight. So they're the best and the youngest and the strongest. In verse 12, it says, let us be strong for our people versus let us play the men for our people. It's not saying let us play against these men for our people or pretend to be brave. This is a Hebrew idiom, be strong and courageous. It basically means, in our vernacular in 2024, it means be a man. So be manly, be masculine, behave like men, fight like men. Verse 15, this is a word we don't usually use, but is worsted. That means, in militaristic terms, that you have been defeated or overcome. Worsted. And it says smitten, so that is a accurate translation there. And then in verse 19, we have another significant difference to close out the chapter. It talks about how the kings of the servants, I should say all the kings, the servants of Hadad-ezer, saw that they were put to the worst before Israel. They were defeated. They went over to Israel. So they physically went over there and served them. The Masoretic renders it this way: they made peace with Israel. So it's one thing to go over there and serve them. It's another thing to make peace with them and no longer war again. But as we know, they tend to have a history, especially Amalek, of fighting Israel and being antagonistic towards them. So that's all for this chapter. I thank you for your time. Until next time, we'll look at 2 Samuel chapter 11. And until then, I bid you all Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you, and Maranatha.